The main thing to look out for if you're sensitive in films or you're taking someone to see Sisters and they're kind of sensitive to different viewing themes is the sex and the drug use, and probably the offensive language in this film. There is a lot of offensive language sort of scattered throughout the film. The C word is used as well as the F word quite a few times, and the S word, bitch, is used. There's a few derogatory terms for women and quite a few stereotypes, such as stereotypes against homosexuals, as well as cultural stereotypes and, let's say rural kind of, country hick kind of stereotypes, that kind of thing. In terms of the sex, there is one scene when a couple, you're told that they're having sex standing up. They're in a crowd, so you don't see any nudity, and you don't really, we don't really actually see kind of the bottom half at all. You see them shot from the top half, and you see them obviously in the act of having sex. There is another scene where a woman is with a man in a bedroom and he is just in his underwear, and they play some kind of sexual themed games, and there's also a sexual mishap in that particular scene. Finally, there's a scene where there's a naked man who is running through the film a few times near the end of the film. You don't actually see any genitals. In fact, in any of the movie, you don't see genitals, no breasts or anything like that. And this man has his genitals obscured, but he appears to be kind of grinding on a table which has food on it. So again, we'd put that in the sex category. In terms of the nudity, there's a lot of very skimpy clothing, very sort of tight-fitting, skimpy clothing. You also see a woman flashing her bra at a man, and you see one woman, the clothing she's wearing is so kind of revealing that you see a bit of side boob and under boob and that kind of thing. With the drugs, pretty much everything you can imagine is at least mentioned in the film. One character who's a drug dealer has a bag, a case of drugs, and he opens it up and you see pills and vials and packets and all kinds of things. And then he runs through a list of the kind of drugs that he has either in his bag or has access to. So it's just kind of like every drug you can imagine is mentioned. You do see people smoking weed in the film, smoking bongs, as well as snorting powder. There's a bit of an accident with some powder. So one particular person is covered in cocaine, and then behaves rather erratically afterwards. He's quite stoned afterwards, quite drugged up, and suffers kind of hallucinatory episodes as a result of taking in so much of this cocaine. So that's pretty much the drugs and the sex and the nudity. It's very much almost like a kind of sorority type of film. It's the humour that for me I would more associate with men, the way they kind of approach humour, particularly when it comes to these sort of themes of sex and nudity and so on. And for example, there's one scene where two women are flirting with a man, and it just gets pushed to that sort of extent where it becomes a bit demeaning and derogatory. It sort of loses its shine a little bit. And that, unfortunately reminds me of more kind of like male-directed humour rather than the sort of like female-centric humour. But, not to say that there isn't a great market for that women love that kind of like dirty sort of humour as well. So if that's your thing, then you'll probably love this film. Sisters is directed by Jason Moore and stars Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. And if you'd like to read more about the content involved in the film, then have a look at my website, which is cinemum.net.